What's good, y'all? This is Ray Daniels, aka the Culture Referee, and I want to ask you: are you ever frustrated with uploading a video to YouTube and you get no views? I know I was when I first started. If you're a music artist and you have your own podcast or you're a content creator, look no further. WHAM Promotions has gotten you covered. They specialize in high-end targeted YouTube campaigns that deliver real views, real subscribers, and most importantly, real growth. So if you're struggling with real organic YouTube growth, I'm here to tell you to go on WHAM Promotions and use the promo code GAUDS and receive 20% when you check out. Tell them Ray sent you, you got 20% off. Let's go, guys. I'm looking to see you guys on the charts. Let's go.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy, L. Will.
And this is Ray Daniels, a.k.a. the Culture Referee, and welcome to the GAUDs Show.
Let's get it.
Will, we have a really special guest today, but I also want to say you're a special guest. You're one of my favorite journalists, and I think you just gave me a little bit more props in the zeitgeist of podcasts where I have a real journalist. I want to tell you thank you for being here, stepping in.
My
but
pleasure.
Today's guest is the CEO of Ace Metaphor Productions, a fusion of poetry, relationship coaching, and entertainment. Tonight's conversation is a hit with 5 million followers, a podcast, card game, and sold-out tours. He got it together. Everybody, let's make some noise for Ace Metaphor. Let's go.
That's a lot of shit. Appreciate it.
Ace, so you are someone who I've watched from a distance, didn't even know that I was going to be talking to you today, but I'm glad. But you're someone who I've watched. You have, to me, have done what I think every podcast wants to do, which is own their own data, own their own outlet, own everything that's theirs, and then start. What was your thought process going in it? Did you know you was doing that? Was it like trial and error and then you figured it out? Like, what was the thoughts?
So, a lot of it was trial and error, but where it initially started from was I had a card game called Tonight's Conversation. It was a dating card game, and it became a big hit. And so we would run ads with couples playing the cards, black couples playing the cards, asking questions. And that was such a hit on social media. Obviously, we sold a lot of cards, but people was like, where can I watch the whole episode?
Wow.
And so I had the idea to create a platform for people to watch the whole podcast. But when I looked around at all the competitors, I don't want to necessarily say the name, but let's just say there's a popular paywall that people use.
Yes, Patreon.
Okay. A lot of people use it, but at the time it wasn't a way to do the backside analytics so that you can see who joined your app from what ad that you were running. So prior to that, I spent about 7 years doing Facebook ads for different people, different companies, and for my own tours. So I knew it was important to be able to have a platform in which you can run ads to. That way I can constantly get subscribers to that app. And so when we created the podcast, I never wanted to put it somewhere for free because I didn't want people to watch it and not pay for it.
You trained your audience.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the game, did you see yourself as a podcaster? Like, what did you see yourself? Or was it just, I'm gonna create a game and I'm creative and...
Okay, so I'll break it like this. So I was doing relationship content since about 2016.
Okay.
I always describe myself as like the bad guy turned good. Because I used to be that guy, had a couple girls, the whole thing, right? But bad guy in the sense of, just being that mysterious, not really into relationships. But then when I started being a little bit more emotionally intelligent, I started attacking the issues about myself and why maybe I was a little bit more promiscuous than I wanted to be. I found out that I really needed to value myself a little bit more. So I started doing open blogging on the internet. I would take my phone out and I would just record. I would just record educational videos, motivational videos, relationship videos. And that logged into me doing tours around it. Now, they were small in nature at the time. In 2017, I had a nice little following on Facebook, about 100,000 people. And I started to organize tours around the country. So my first tour, I went out and did 22 cities. I booked hotel, I wouldn't even call them ballrooms. These are hotel meeting rooms.
Yes.
These are 90 people,
yes.
right? but they was 90 people that were willing to pay $35. And so me and a couple guys, Trip Fontaine, who was one of a lot of people's favorite panelists on tonight's conversation, me, Jay Martinez, Trip Fontaine.
Trip Fontaine's a skinny guy with the
with the beard
with
and
the glasses.
Yeah. So we went all around the country in the Armada. Yeah, and we hit 20 cities. And so when we would do these shows, I used to have like a lecture, but I felt that was boring. Like every room is different, so I would do question and answers. Yeah, and so I would ask. They would ask me questions and I would answer. And so over the time, I started finding out or thinking that what would help people not get into these relationship mess and debacles is if they ask the proper questions up front. But most people are too afraid to do that. Most people, they get on a date, they too interested in eating crab legs and going to the movies, but nobody's actually talking. And so that's why I was like, man, I think it's a great idea to create this dating card game. And I would sell it at some shows, right? I remember creating and calling it Tonight's Conversation. I ordered about 5,000 of them. And I thought that was going to last. I thought that was a lifetime supply of card games because I didn't think people was going to buy it. In the first weekend, we sold all 5,000 card games, and I knew I had a thing. And so the card game was inspired about actually getting in there and being with your fans, being with your supporters, and actually hearing their concerns, their questions, what actually motivates them. And then that is what the step of
curiosities.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You gave everybody personality.
I know, right?
That's what you just like. You gave everybody personality. There it is. You guys?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, like you were talking about the fact that people in these situations don't really know what to say. So you were helping them with that, with the Q&A stuff. Mm-hmm. I've always felt that in relationships, communication is the number one thing. It's the most important thing. Like, can you kind of talk about that? Like, that's something I had to learn, over time.
It is. Effective communication though. Right. Because oftentimes people be talking, but they don't be listening. Yeah. Or people be talking, but they don't really verbalize what they really mean. So oftentimes people got two different communication styles. Yes. So y'all having the same conversation, but neither one of you all are actually really effectively hearing or listening. And so I think oftentimes people confuse talking for effective communication. And so it'd be the last thing you check off the box, because when you start to date somebody, you're gonna present your best self. You're gonna put that mask on. You're gonna go
the
and
Instagram
act like
version of yourself.
and she doing the same thing,
the
vice
representative.
versa. And then you're avoiding problems because in your last relationship, the man called you naggy. So now you ain't even bringing up concerns. And then you not you in general, but you may be a little jealous or possessed, but you ain't even, you're gonna act really secure this time because that's how you lost your last girl. Yes. And so here you are being like, I don't want to call it inauthentic because you should put your best foot forward, but here you are being not your genuine self.
Yeah. Right? You saying what you think people want to hear. Like I always say, I always tell when I would go on dates back when I did, I always say, don't ask me, don't tell me what you want. Let me just be myself, and hopefully that's what you want. Because, once you start saying, I like street dudes, it's like, now you come a little bit more street. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or I like smart dudes. He's like, let me tell you the last book I read. It's like you're giving him the answers to get the draws right there. Like, you got to be a little bit.
The drawback to when you don't be your authentic self, and here's the thing, we all got things that's not the most favorable about ourselves. But you can only truly test the compatibility of a partner if when you do have conflict, that gives you an opportunity to see how they handle it, how you handle it. When there is some disagreement, but we often in the beginning run from that. So by the time you get your heart involved and it's time to have tough conversations, you never vetted whether that person had the ability to have that. And then I think, I'm not gonna make this a gender war thing, but I feel like men, we are bigger, like really big corporates of that. We want to pretend that we're tough. We want to pretend that we got everything together. We want to pretend like things don't bother us. So we're not even vetting that woman's ability to tend to our emotional needs because
we don't want to be vulnerable.
Exactly. We don't want to be vulnerable. So by the time it's time to actually have a conversation about your issue, then you learn 2 years in that she wasn't prepared to deal with your issues. And no. We talk about my issues now. Yeah. Because every conversation for 2 years has been about her. Yeah. Happy wife, happy life. It's never really been about you. So I think it's important for us to have those tough conversations early on in a way that isn't confrontational. Yeah. It's a card game. You know what I mean? So we can, it's inviting, hey, listen, every Wednesday, let's just play this card game. And so you get used to training yourself to have not tough conversations, but conversations in general.
So you say like the card game itself is definitely a way of helping people who are scared, like you said earlier, the fear of having these difficult conversations. It's like how do we have these conversations? The card games kind of give you the cheat code, as it were.
Exactly. And it gives you the license to have it.
Yes, it's almost the reason.
Yep.
It's like if we're watching a couple argue about something, that gives us a reason to say, "You see what they're arguing about?
I know.
Would that bother you?" Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly,
It's almost it's giving you this. So when you started the card game, how did you? So you obviously started the podcast and the card game pretty much collectively. You just didn't realize it was a podcast.
Exactly. I didn't realize it was a podcast. So then, and let's say that happened COVID. So that happened right. I had the card game happen right when COVID was happening.
Like as it happened. March 2020.
Exactly. So that's when I started creating it and I ordered it. Then you had supply chain issues. But by the time it happened, you got to think the beginning of COVID, March, for a lot of entrepreneurs, you like, man, I had to cancel shows. I couldn't get deposits back from venues. And I'm worried about like how I'm going to sustain my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it only took about 3 months before them stimmies start hitting everybody, that I realized, oh no, people buying bad.
Yeah.
It like the COVID,
Well, they needed entertainment as well, remember?
And then they needed something they could play at home with
Together.
people. And so that's why the card games, I feel like took off. It just took off. And so
it was a curse and a blessing.
It was. So we did the card games for about a year, and then I decided to do a tour featuring the card games, and we named the tour Tonight's Conversation. And the first iteration of that was Keita Rose, myself, and TC Caldwell. This is 2001. And then we had... No, I'm sorry. 2020. Let me not lie.
He was way ahead of the game.
2021. This is 2021.
Okay, shit.
So we got 2021. It was me, Keita Rose, TC Caldwell, K Love the poet, Jay Martinez the poet.
Okay.
And we did about 13 cities or something like that. And this was when social distancing still was sort of a thing.
Yeah.
It was sort of
we was
a thing.
unsure.
But the premise of that show was the same question and answer experience, but it felt like a podcast. We get on the stage and it felt like a conversation.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to Keita, I'm talking to Jay, I'm talking to K Love. I'm like, we should do a podcast. We should do a podcast. And they're like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's do it. And so that January of 2022, I had reached out to a lot of my friends, my friends inside the industry, a lot of poets, a lot of influencers, a lot of people I thought would be good. I brought them all to Dayton for a 3-day shoot. We had 2 rooms running. It was at this art institute. We had a room inside the theater. We had a room inside their little gala hall. And over that weekend, we recorded like 48 episodes. I had 30 people there. 48 episodes. The way I record, I do 8-hour days, 8-hour blocks.
Okay, well now we know how. Now,
how many episodes in a day?
He's a Tyler Perry of a podcast. We're learning. Hold on. So how do you do that? Can you give me that a little bit?
So basically, when I do a season of Tonight's Conversation, I'll pick 20 influencers. And what we'll do is, because I want to mix and match them, we change our clothes so it seems like it's different episodes. But people can come 3 days of work, but you can get 6 months of content on my platform. You get what I'm saying? The sucky part for me is I got to stay down there the whole time. So I do 8 straight episodes 3 days a week. I mean, 3 straight days. And so that's kind of difficult, but we mix and match people. We do topics. We had the topics together. In the beginning, we was just winging it. So it was just like organic conversations.
Did you use the game kind of as like the starting point?
So the game was the starting point, the type of questions. But then as I got seasoned as the moderator, I just wanted to ride the conversation. Where'd the conversation take us?
Yeah.
I have 5 different individuals. That's a different mixture of people. Let me ride this and see where it happens. So I'm gonna be transparent with y'all. That first shoot, I dropped about $150 on that.
What?
Yeah, about $150,000. That's how much I believed in that product.
But you had the money from the game.
I had the money from the game, and obviously I had been an entrepreneur for a little bit. But this is before we had a single subscriber on the app.
Really?
That's how much I believed into it. And I believed from the get-go in paying my talent. From the very first podcast.
Me too, by the way.
We didn't had not $1.
And you didn't keep them waiting either.
Didn't keep them waiting. No, they came and everybody was paid their negotiated rate for 3 days. And we're talking about 30 people. We're talking about probably 10 film crews, 2 different audio teams, everybody. From day one.
To my travel, everything.
Travel, lodging, everything. So it cost me about $150,000 investment, that initial podcast shoot.
And it paid off, huh?
It did.
I was saying.
It did.
But that's a big gamble. What I did was similar to that. I wasn't thinking like that. I was like, I brought people in and I'm like, yo, it's my dream. Like, I know it's my dream.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going, and I also know that I have money from my career. So it's like, it would be unfair to ask you guys to sit here. So I started paying them, and then it just becomes tumultuous because they don't understand that the money is coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Cause I'm telling you, I've had, like, you don't understand. I had people that worked for me that was like, cause we were hot.
Yeah.
They go out and they're like, man, we hotter than this. I need to make more money. I'm like, no, we don't have no money though, guys. We don't even know what our business model is.
And the thing is, it's your passion.
Yes.
It's your passion. They're not as passionate about it as you.
And then they become, like, I remember I was going places and my coach was like, well, why is he getting tickets and I'm not? I'm like, because I'm still me. Like, I'm still who I am. It was always
without
hard.
me, there is no this.
That's what I'm saying. And now that I'm paying out of my money. So the fact that, like, I didn't even know, like, to me, it was like, when I saw you, like I said, the same thing I told Troy and Rashad from Earning Leads when they've been here, like, you guys to me are the GOATs of this, right? Because they obviously turned the EYL into a damn whole institution in a festival, and you was able to turn a game into an entire media property. Where you get your entrepreneurial perspective from to even want to, do you know, like, I know it's easy now, but just think about it, spending $150,000 knowing you're gambling.
So let me tell you this, man. I've been doing it since 2013. I started with a poetry company called Metaphorically Speaking. I have never partnered with anybody financially ever since 2013.
Why is that? There's a reason.
Because I like making decisions. I like taking chances. I like executing my vision. And while I do understand that you need a team around you, sometimes those decisions are slow when somebody feel like they got a third decision in it, and this person feel like they got a third.
Yeah.
And so from 2013 on, financially, I've never had to have somebody pitch in for any tour, anything I've ever done. I've never taken a loan. I've never had sponsorship, which I'm not so proud of.
Right.
But up until this point, I've never had sponsorship. I've never had fundraising. It has been solely funded by me reinvesting money from previous projects. And when we got to tonight's conversation and started tonight's conversation, I wanted the artist to be the artist. I didn't want them to have to worry about the business side. I didn't want them to worry about how many views we get and how many app subscribers. I wanted you to be talent. I wanted you to come in, do your best on the couch. You know what I'm saying? Give their effort there, and then I'll handle the rest. And so that's why it was more so starting it that way. And I've seen, at that time, you podcast was a thing, and you had seen how podcasting can go.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a safer choice.
Yeah.
Just to invest and not have to have somebody put sweat equity. I wanted you, when you came and you put that 3 days in, I want to pay your rate. And let me tell you this, when you go talk to, we've had over 100 people that have done at least 6 or 7 episodes because we do shoots like that. They'll come to Dayton, my home now, because my studio was in my home in Dayton, and they'll stay for 5 days. And so we've had over 100 people. Most people, when they tell me they rate, I pay them more than they tell me what they rate is. Like, it's something I believe in. I believe in paying people for their skills.
Me too.
And then on the backside, I believe in my ability to market and execute.
Yeah.
So much so that I felt comfortable putting up $150,000.
And those people will keep coming back to you to work with you in the future. And when you need a favor, it's like they see how you work, and it's like,
Exactly.
I fuck with him.
Yep.
And it got to be hard to be a peer. It's my life, right? It's just this world that I'm in, the podcast media space, is not how I've been able to pay for all of this, right?
Yeah.
It's been my music endeavors, which I've been investing in. But then it becomes hard because you're a peer, right? So it's like, it's kind of like you're a owner player,
Yeah.
and it becomes very difficult because then people start seeing you as like they think because they're sitting next to you, that you guys are equals, not understanding that everything that goes into like the risk. Like even me, Will, I'm like, damn, like, and I've invested hundreds of thousands, but I didn't do it one pop one weekend because that would have probably scared me. But just seeing you, I got to give you props for that. But I know people ain't gonna understand the impact because it worked.
Well, because most people, and this is the entrepreneur space of the podcasting, right? Most people would think about how much is the podcast making. That's what everybody wants to ask. How much is it making? No one asks how much it cost.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about $150,000 for the initial investment for the three-day week, now when we do shows, my break even is $180,000. And that's at a low end. Sometimes it's $200,000 just to break even at a show. And so when you see 3, 4, 5,000 people in the room, you have to understand, if you don't know the backside of it, there's an appearance that this is being made. So the difficulty with the peer part, especially when you're talking about not necessarily my cast, but just speaking in general,
yeah.
there is if you don't understand the numbers. But I never wanted somebody to be worried about that. I wanted you to be worried about what your worth is, what you think you deserve. We negotiate a price if it fits within my vision for tonight's conversation, and we take care of you.
Yeah.
I don't want to come to you talking about, dang, Tampa a little slow. That's not really.
That's not your concern.
That's not your concern, because I don't want you to be thinking like, well, damn, did that mean I ain't gonna get paid?
Or I want you to go on this worried about just your role rather than worrying about like what everybody else is.
You're gonna walk in and not be your best.
Let me tell you, one of the hardest feelings to have, even though I never asked somebody to put up money. I used to do tours where it was like a profit share.
Yeah.
And that wasn't necessarily advantageous for me, because I would put 100% of the money. I would do 100% of the promotion, but I would split a profit with people. But sometimes we take an L at the door. Anybody to do events,
Period.
you know, you can take an L.
Hell yeah.
And it's hard looking at somebody and being like, you know, we ain't make nothing, so you ain't getting paid. So what I would end up doing is paying them anyway.
Yes.
So what I wanted to do with tonight's conversation is eliminate that risk for any castmate, any staff, and absorb it myself.
You're a really smart guy. What do you see? And you have vision, right? You literally said, I don't want your money because I know what I'm doing. And I at least want to, like, I'll live and die on my name. Where do you want, what is the ultimate goal for the Tonight Conversation brand first, and then second for Ace the man also?
I want to move to not being so in front of the camera.
That's your personal.
That's my personal goal.
For sure.
I want tonight's conversation to grow to being able to be something that can continue in somebody's city. But who the particular castmates doesn't matter as much. The brand stands strong enough, and the idea behind the product is strong enough for people to be like, hey, tonight's conversation is tonight. We popping up because it's a thing. But I'm just one person. I could probably produce better. I can probably advertise better. I can probably plan better if I wasn't also the person that did the most episodes.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So my initial vision for tonight's conversation as it relates to me is to start ushering in the new voices, the new people, the new idea, the new flavor when it comes to a moderator.
Yeah.
And then slide back into the backside, because you got to think, I mean, I've been doing this in the front of the camera thing for the better part of, it's going on 10 years now. And I've been doing it both at the same time, left brain, right brain. I'll get to a venue at 9 o'clock. Now I got staff, but I'm gonna walk the venue. I'm gonna count the chairs.
Yep.
I'm gonna count the VIP section. I'm gonna double check the address, because the last thing you wanna do is email somebody the wrong address.
Exactly.
And you don't think about that, right?
Has it happened?
Oh, it happened before. Now, it happened when it was a smaller show, but you got 150 people going to the wrong Marriott.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then you check the temperature. Because it's like, no matter, because I know I'm a talent, but it also got my stamp on it.
It's your baby.
And right, but I want to do that more.
Yeah.
So like right now, performing on stage, I love doing that too. But it be the afterthought for me. That part I never worried about. So for my place in the brand is to move more into the producer standpoint, more into the building relationships. Like I said, we don't have sponsorship. I need to be shaking hands, kissing babies.
For sure.
You feel me? But for tonight's conversation is, again, the same vision, to grow in different ways, to get different produced episodes on our app. Let's say Kitty J. Rose is a fan favorite. I want to have her own home space and her own podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
I want people to be, when they graduate, they feel like they can graduate from the panel, and if they put in the work, they can get their own space.
They can stay here.
Like
yeah, they can stay here. Yeah.
So like, go ahead, finish.
No, that is it.
Cause I was gonna say like, you were kind of, it feels like Tyler Perry, right? It's like he put himself in everything so much that now he only has to do Medea or whatever he does if he wants to. But it's the object of like, I don't want to have, cause you can't, cause I know how grueling it is.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard to do a podcast, to roll out the content, to make sure the audio is right. Like it's like literally I had to quit music to get mine together. Like that's how hard it is because like every detail matters.
Can I add something else? I've posted every single post on tonight's conversation page.
Yeah.
Myself. I thought of every single caption. I've timestamped and had cut every single piece of content. It is, I've had my hands so on every piece of it that, and we've been moving so fast that I haven't stood still long enough to be able to even delegate little things like that. And one of the reasons is, I'm gonna toot my own horn. I feel like I'm the best at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then you look at the results. We got 2.3 million followers. Our last 4 videos, 3 of them over 1.5 million views just on Instagram. And it's like, oh, do I give my baby to somewhere
Well, I
else?
was about to say, you hesitant about that. It's like, who do you choose? Do you have people already that you're like, maybe I could trust this person, but then you're like over their shoulder the whole time? Like,
But that's what I'm saying. I think if you ask me about Ace Metaphor, I'm more skilled behind the camera than I am in front of a camera. And I'm a bad boy on that stage.
I was gonna say, do you think that they tell you? But I'm saying, do you think that it's what you're telling yourself? Let me tell you why I say that. Because I think why you're so good off camera is because you are so good on camera.
That might be true.
So it's kind of like how I had to do it. Like I hate my voice. I hate the way I talk. Like I've been working on everything trying to get better because I just don't understand why people are into what is happening. But then it's me. It's just it's kind of like I'm like, yo, Will, say this. I'm like, well, I can say it too. It's like it's almost like that skill. You're so good in front of camera that you're like, oh no, I know how to direct you. I know how to get you there.
Yeah, I agree.
but it's because you're in the music lane for so long.
Yes.
Now you're transitioning to something new. It's like, this is uncharted waters. It's like, you haven't done it long enough for you to be comfortable enough with it yet.
Yeah.
Whereas I bet you can walk into a boardroom meeting and a record label like it's nothing, right?
And that's what I try to do on the show. I try to give my boardroom self, but the people liked it, but now I got to make it more efficient. Like you said, it's like I direct myself, and I'm okay with direction. If I need to sit up more, tell me. I'm not the kind of guy that's like, I know it all. It's just, I know what the people want to hear.
Yeah.
I know what they need to feel. I know how they have to do it.
Yeah.
What is the future of podcasting to you?
The future of podcasting is, I'm gonna say it from I feel like podcasts, vlogs, Instagram, that's the new TV.
Me too.
And it doesn't even have to be structured as a podcast, as the main medium for people to digest it. The clips from your podcast. You know what I'm saying? Now is the new, like, how many times I'm watching TV and I have to pause it because TikTok is just way more interesting.
Right. All the time. I was doing that last night.
All the time.
I swear.
All the time. So it's like, but
Because they get to the meat and potatoes, they find the clip.
Instead
of watching a whole episode of something on television, right? It's like they just know how to get you.
And you can stay in people's consciousness every day. 60 to 90 to 140 seconds, you stay in their consciousness. That's all they really need from you, for real, if it's impactful. I say this, most people don't even need a subscription to the Tonight's Conversation app. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I'm trying to encourage people not to get it, but I say this all the time because I give you so much value just on the page.
Yeah.
You can scroll down that page and probably get the best of what's on that app just from scrolling and digesting in 90 seconds, 120 apps. You don't get that. So I'm gonna give you the value there, right? But then it's people like, nah, I need more though.
What's the appetite? Exactly.
I need more. I need to be able to watch it on my TV. I wanted the whole experience.
Yeah.
But I said that to say this. I think what podcasts are waking up to, because I don't want to toot my own horn, and I believe I'm not the first to do it.
Yeah.
So it's probably nobody's the first to do it, but to be a clip first podcast, not audio first, I got to be one of the pioneers in that.
Yeah.
Because when I looked around, that's what everybody was taking that mode. Everybody was Spotify, Apple, this, that, and the other. Barely had cameras to record their podcast at the time. And then definitely didn't have the...
What's good, everybody? This is Ray Daniels, aka the Culture Referee. And if you were wondering who this beautiful woman sitting next to me is my sister Tiffany Daniels Sy. Let's give it up for my sister. Everybody can clap. This is good. And my sister she's the most talented person in the family, and we started a family business, a signature scent company. So if you smoke a lot of weed in your car and you want to get the scent out, you have to check out these scents. I know guys that use it for the weed. I know people that use it for cologne, and everywhere they go to get compliments. We make candles. We make
room sprays. We got them in kits. So if you want to buy something for your loved one or anybody that you care about, hit us up, LorraineCo.com.
And we're going to put the website at the bottom of it. But support this black business, support this black woman, and order, I promise you guys. As a matter of fact, use the word GAUDs and we'll give you 15% off. I just made that up, so if my sister's face looks crazy, don't get mad at her. I'll eat that. But guys, when I tell you this shit is incredible, you really should check this out.
The best scents ever.
LorraineCo.com. And we'll put it at the bottom of the screen. Thank you.
Thanks.
main thing being a paywall.
Yeah.
That definitely wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so
there's only one person I can think of. I'll tell you after this.
Yeah.
There's only one person that does
that's what
that.
I'm saying.
You're right.
And then to do it at this level, I think it helped everything. When there's not another place like YouTube where you can watch the whole thing, now it makes people watch our clips even more.
Yes.
Now our clips get more views. They go more viral. Every clip has a bumper at the end where go download the app. And then we get you in the app. And then even if you leave, you left me with your email, maybe your number, and then I can refund you to a card game or something. So you create that own ecosystem. But again, the future of podcasting are the people that realize that video is king now.
Yes.
That the reason you're recording your podcast, the main reason is for it to be clipped up. So when I look at these cameras, I want to make sure that they're set at a width that they can crop me into a 9x16. And I want to make sure my island behind me looks good on a 9x16, and then yours, and then yours. Yep. Because I know I'm shooting with TikTok and Instagram in mind.
I shoot it and market it in my head.
Exactly.
That's how I do interviews. It's funny because the only problem that you would hear people say about the show is Ray talks too much, and it's only because I'm kind of directing the person I'm talking to on camera. Like, oh, what you really mean is this, and they're like, yeah. And the person I'm interviewing loved it, but the people at home was like, let them talk. I'm like, they didn't. I'm sorry, I'm a better talker than them. I know how to communicate better than those guys and everything else. So let me ask you, would you ever, I'm only asking you this just because I'm curious. Someone like BET comes to you and says, can you license us the show?
No.
You would never license it?
No.
Why is that?
I work too hard for it right now. Like right now, I work too hard for it. And I wouldn't do it right now.
You're saying right now.
Right now. And let me tell you why my relationship to it is different.
It's your child.
Yeah, and it's what I had. Like 2013, I had a major life-changing event that happened to me. And this baby, when all else fails, has always been there for me. And so it's more of that connection. So if BT, if you are listening to this, no. Unless you offer me an ungodly amount of money, then yes. But right now
they don't have it.
Nah, it's just my audience, my revenue, it would have to far exceed that. Yeah. And it would have to exceed it to a level in which. So if they listening, I'm open. Yeah. But it'd have to be that. It'd be that type of art.
Or what you could do is you can maybe license them shows from years ago and then give them the old content as it comes up and don't let them do the new stuff.
But that's what I was about to say though. Like, without telling you how much, it's a decent piece of change. It's a decent piece of change every month. And it's more about the control of it. It's more about my vision, being able to execute and pivot the way I want to do it.
Because you don't want it to change.
I don't want it to change. And if it changes, it's because
it dilates the brand.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So that's why when we talk about the partnerships, that's why I don't like doing it. I like doing it the way. And here's the thing. It worked. It works. It works. What I'm doing works. I'm independent, self-funded, self-promoted, self-organized, and I did 10,000 people in New York this past October or November.
That's fire.
10,000.
One show?
We had to do a double. We had to do a matinee. Matinee, we had about 4,500, and the 8 p.m. we had about 4,500. You feel what I'm saying? And the average ticket price, we got concert level pricing with our tickets, and so it's like
I heard somebody sent me one like a year ago. Like it's in town. They selling tickets for. It was like. It was an artist ticket. I don't remember what the number was. I thought it was like 200. It was something where I was like,
these panelists is expensive.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's real.
No, but the thing is, that's what I'm saying. In order for the show to be what it needs to be, again, this person that's sitting to my right or my left, they got to get paid what they worth.
Yep.
They got if they a draw, they got to get paid what they worth. That person that's running those cameras, that's giving me that quality fee, got to get paid what he worth or she worth. Yeah. So on and so forth. And so I factor that into the ticket price and obviously the promotion, and then but that's the future of podcasting. We are probably one of the first to majorly tour that type of level. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? 9,000 for a podcast in New York, crazy.
That's crazy.
We did
I did 200. I was excited as fuck.
We probably did over last year in 24, we did over 100,000 tickets sold. Yeah.
Who were you, like, when you talk about going and doing these shows in New York, what other podcasts did you ever look at as like a blueprint for that type of thing? Because I actually worked with Combat Jack, God bless the dead. God bless the dead. He came to London and he stayed at my crib, and we did his first ever show at the O2. It was a place called the Brooklyn Bowl. And like watching him and how the UK accepted him. And then I've been to Charlemagne and Andrew Schultz's shows in the UK. And it's like these things are taking off. Rory and Mal just came out to the UK, obviously the Joe Budden podcast. Who were you looking at and saying, this is what?
I don't believe. Now, again, y'all might know things outside of me.
For sure.
At that time, I don't believe that there was another, at least at that level yet. Now, people are doing, it's commonplace now. More people are going out doing city wineries or whatever. But at that time, at that level, I don't remember, especially live recording. And their whole show is from live. Our whole podcast is live recording with a live studio audience, audio. And so, so we, every time we shoot in different cities, so we set up shop in San Diego, we set up shop in, Seattle, so on and so forth. But my inspiration was, the true inspiration for me doing the tours was one of my panelists. His name is Just Mike. Just Mike, the poet, it was in poetry, right? I used to be a poetry promoter in Dayton. But
poetry promoter, I never met one of those in my life until right now.
Hey, we used to rock those things.
Really?
I'm telling you, I'm talking about our shows in Dayton. We used to have 1,000 people in Dayton, Ohio, come to see poetry at a theater. Like I've been about that life for a very long time.
I love that.
So Just Mike the poet was a touring poet. And then he did a show in Cleveland. We drove up to Cleveland, me, Trip Fontaine, and a guy named C. Rich. We went to Cleveland, and he's not from Cleveland, but he had a room of 200 people in there. And I'm like, how did this happen? And then after the show, he had a line full of women buying his merch. And I'm like, how are you doing this? You're not even from here. And then that's when I realized the power of social media. You don't have to be a celebrity now. You just have to have your own fans and your own following. Yeah. Right. So what inspired me as far as the touring was that little show and those 100-seaters that I was telling you about, because everything I do now is just the same thing that I did then. It's just get a flyer, make a Facebook ad, book a venue, and now you just ratio the money out. Now instead of putting $200 behind the ad, now every show is gonna cost you about 30, 40, 50,000. I don't like to talk about
30,000 in ads?
50, 40, 50, 60. Everything is a commercial though. Everything. Even if you didn't buy the ticket, you were more aware of the brand. Yep. And then let's say like now when you're talking about artist development, I don't really have an artist development branch, but when people come on the pod, it's because you know I'm gonna promote you.
Yeah.
Now, if your clips does good, I'm making an ad for our tours and I'm spending an ungodly amount of money on ads for tour and then ads for our app. But you was spitting in that clip, now more people are aware of you.
Exactly.
And so it's about creating that ecosystem. The ecosystem, everything promotes the tour, promotes the app promotes the card game, so on and so forth. So I don't mind overspending on a tour show, but those people that didn't just come. You know, we had to work for that ticket buy.
Pushed it.
We had to work for it. And that's the part of the business that a lot of people, I don't say that they don't understand. It's just because you have to understand it and then you have to have the resources to do it. So that's the two things. But it isn't as easy as our clips is fire, we put the dates out and people bought. We're not Beyonce.
Yeah.
We working hard for this.
I love that.
We working hard for every ticket buy.
I love that. So obviously you've gotten this far with the show and everything you've built. And then what we don't talk about enough in our world is success. Success breeds problems. More money, more problems, right?
Yeah.
But it's an easy way to summate like what really happens in the world, but it's so bullshit because you don't even understand. Like I said, like me, I had a good team, but then I'm still trying to figure out how to get more money to pay, make some money for myself. And they're like, nah, we need more money. And I'm like, you want more money based on the clout, not based on the actual. It's like because your team is popular, but we ain't selling nothing. So like when you get to that success, there becomes an understanding that you have to communicate to the people that's with you, and damn near pray that they get it.
Pray that they get it. That's a good way to say it.
And if they don't get it, then all of a sudden it looks like your house is dirty or your house is not clean. And obviously, you know, we was talking off camera and I was just telling you like, I don't really get into like the he say, she say of like what's going on. But I do feel like as I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, I could peep a snake. I'm not gonna act like I haven't had peeps on this couch that I knew was like, oh yeah, I would never do business with him. But it was my business. But like as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, man, you really smart. You know your shit. You put the plan together and worked. Why do you think? First of all, can you enlighten us on what's going on? Like, because I was hearing like Akita had an issue. I got sent the video, but I don't really get into it.
I can tell you.
Please.
Long story short.
No, we want the story. Whatever. You don't got to rush. I want to hear it. Give me the details.
We got
I
all
wanna
know.
My publicist is not gonna like what I'm about to say.
Ebony, it's okay. We got you.
But it's already been made public. Long story short, I believe in that particular example of the person you named, they can rewind it to hear who you name. The genesis of it, I hear her talk online over the last month talking about how much money I make per show. He say he making $500,000 a show. Let's just roll and say if that was your reference of what you think I'm making. If that's what you think I'm making in profit every single show, then you in your head may not feel like it's unfair to ask me for, I'm speaking hypothetically. Let's just say it might not be unfair for you to think that you can ask me for $50,000 a show. Right? Because you think
You trying to take 10% of the money you think I'm making.
Okay, now before we get there, let's do math. Let's say you have a show that has 3,200 people there, right? Let's say the average ticket is $75. Anybody got a calculator? Can somebody do that math for me? 3,200 times
2,400.
No, let's do 3,200 times.
2,400, right?
Yeah, 24. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, because it's 75% of 32. It's
Okay.
70. I work in percentages.
I was gonna say, don't test raise money numbers.
So that's all right. That's
2,400.
Okay. So now we got $240,000, right? Right. Mm-hmm. It's not possible for me to have made profit $500,000 from that show, correct?
No.
That's the gross amount, correct?
Yep.
Now let's say we're going to the ballrooms. A ballroom, let's say we're in Baltimore. A ballroom may cost me $20,000, but that's the without anything price. That's just for the room. Then the power drop for the room is $10,000. Power drop is where you hook your speakers up. We got to bring our speakers. I rent speakers. That's $15,000. I need a truck for the speakers. That's $3,000. I need a driver. That's $2,000, right? Then I need to advertise. 1/3 of every dollar we make is an advertisement. Then you go into paying your staff, your video team, your sound team. Then you got to pay for the janitors. You got to pay for the electricity in the bed, in the water, in the bathrooms, so on and so forth. When you have $220, $240 in your pocket, take the zeros off. Do you feel rich? You do not feel rich because a burger is $5. Mm-hmm. A Uber ride is $20.
Yep.
So on and so forth. What I believe, without saying anything, what I believe the genesis of what could potentially start things like this is a hyper focus on what was made and not how much things cost. So then when you get into conversations and negotiations of contracts, if someone truly believes I'm making $500,000 a show, then they may feel that they're undervalued, even though they're probably overpaid. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying?
All the time.
And so then you get into all the other stuff I can't explain. I cannot explain a lot of the other stuff that we seen on the internet.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to understand it. But if you ask me where I believe things can start and contention can start, and then we go into, this is not, vast majority of the castmates I've ever had on tonight's conversation, vast majority, we've had over 100, never had an issue with this. This is not a prevalent problem. But when you start a business venture and you put up all your bread, you work outside of the shows. You promote them. You do the flyers. You do the clips. You do the app drops. You do everything. Even though that show, you may technically make more than me, I only had to work 4 hours to get it. Mm-hmm. You had to work all year. There's a misunderstanding of it.
Yeah.
So when, let's say hypothetically speaking, from a show, me being everything that everybody heard me say I do before this part, let's say from a show I make twice as much as you. You made more than me. You made vastly more than me.
Yeah.
Vastly more than me.
Because it was less time.
But it was less time. You were able to make your income for this whole year off of 40 days of half work. I work 365. I don't take a day off. And so
go ahead, I want you.
The genesis of how these fissures can start is that misunderstanding. It said, and again, this is hypothetical. I'm not speaking on a particular person.
Yep.
But if you believe that's what's being made, and then that can start, okay, well, this is what I want. I can say, nah. And it's mainly because it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. And then now a person isn't brought back, and then it can cause an issue. So that's generally speaking how a misunderstanding of the books can work. Now, here's the thing. Lastly, everybody, when we started a podcast, not even talking about tonight's conversation, just talk in general. When you sit down on the couch and you say, let's start this shit together, you had the opportunity to say to me, don't pay me. Just give me 15%.
I want some sweat equity. Yep.
Don't pay me. You had the opportunity to say, how much was it? 150,000? All right, I'm gonna put 75 up. You didn't say that. You didn't say that. But what you did do is you took your rate and you took your rate. And along the way, you took your rate, you took your rate, you took your rate. You got paid more, you got paid more, you got paid more. And as you got paid more, guess who paid less?
You did.
And so I guess what I'm saying is, when you say more money, more problems, it's not because I believe people in the genesis of, now everything that happened afterwards, I can't explain. I don't believe at the genesis there was a malicious intent. I believe it's a miseducation of how things work.
Misunderstanding.
It's a misunderstanding. And I just would encourage people to understand how bad touring is now.
Yeah.
A lot of festivals are not making money. I mean, even if you look at the biggest festivals you can think of, they have tens of thousands of people. And if by the eye, you like, they must have made a killing. But that headliner charged them $1.2 million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why they got to sell all the stages. This is this stage because they gotta
figure some shit out. So like, I guess what I'm saying is, if you ask me where things can get rocky, that part. And let me tell you this, I've always been an open book. the particular person you may be referring to in a lot of the videos that she's posting, she'll say, he'll pull up the P&L, but you can dock the P&Ls up. And so you get into that position to where sometimes you got to let people rock. You know what I'm saying? You got to let them rock, and you got to be like, man, and so that can be the genesis of the issue. Now, all the other stuff I can't explain.
Here's the problem. Mm-hmm. The problem is you don't walk into, if Complex offers you a job, you don't walk into Complex and say, how much y'all making? Right? Just being honest. You don't work at McDonald's and be concerned about if they made enough money to cover your salary. You go to work, right? That's the one thing that I can say I think most people don't understand is that you came here knowing that you were going to be covered. You left your house, your family, your husband, your wife, whatever it is, knowing I'm going to go work for 3 days, and in those 3 days, I'm going to make this much money no matter what he makes. Mm-hmm. And that was good enough for you. But as soon as you think I'm making more, all of a sudden I'm your enemy and I'm holding you back. And to be honest with you, this country rewards risk takers. This country does not reward people that play it safe. You, not only did you have the vision, you put up all the money. If this shit doesn't work, those people are sitting around like, stupid ass. But it worked. So now they're like, I want a piece. And it's like, to me, it's the problem with the world and the reason why it's hard to create that power that we all are trying to create to help our people.
You know how many times I agreed to rates collectively, over 8 cast members and over 50 different people that have to be on this tour? How many times I agreed into rates and had to figure out how to sell enough tickets to meet that?
Period.
Every single time. Every single time. And that's the part that people, when I'm not gonna say no names.
Go there.
But no. Because I got good relationships with all these different
Don't listen to
companies.
Ray. Don't listen to Ray.
But I get a contract for a gig.
Yep.
Somebody books TC for a gig. We not getting 100% of our merch. No, 100% of your merch, the sales of the people I got in here. Psh. So in the contracts, it's 20, 25, 75 split. You know what I'm saying? Like even the theaters. The reason why I don't do theaters is because they try to take your merch.
They take a cut.
Guess what?
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now guess what? None of my artists pay me a percentage of their merch money. None of them. And then let's say a company that books us for a big event, right? The big event. Let's just say they try to book the whole TC cast and they offer, let's just hypothetically say, $30,000. For 8 of us, a DJ, and that includes our travel and lodging. But if I told you how much I paid my artist budgets for these shows are, what I think happens is, when you talked about the peer thing, I'm close enough for people to touch and to not view me like Tyler Perry.
Exactly.
And I'm not asking you to view me as Live Nation. But if Live Nation came to you and said, we taking 25% of your merch, you might be like, oh, it's Live Nation. But if Tony does, nah. But
it's optics.
If Live Nation come and offer you, $2,000 to be on this stage at this festival, which I'm appreciative. I love Live Nation.
For sure.
I love y'all. But I'm just saying, you're going to be like, oh, that's a good opportunity. But I got you on stage for the 10,000 people. You know what I'm saying? And so I guess my point I'm saying is it's that dichotomy of saying, was shielding the work I do on the backside from a particular person or two, did it make that person feel like it was so easy and automatic, and that now what I do get undervalued?
Yeah.
Now my contribution to people liking you and coming to see you, you think you just did that solo. No, we did that.
Yes.
We did that.
Yeah.
I stayed up to 3 a.m. watching this episode to find your best highlight. I did that.
Yes.
I paid for it, packaged it, I got it edited. I got it back. I uploaded it. I thought about the caption.
You provided a platform.
And I put money behind it.
Yes.
Your fans, you got because you were talented. But I helped.
Yeah.
And then now you look and you say, yeah, but I got these people here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what about the ad dollars I put behind it? So I think from my side of it, it's hard to talk about in public because, like I said before, I want everybody to get what they worth. That's why I've always tried to pay people. I'd be like, what's your rate? What's your rate? And I'm gonna do my best to match whatever your rate. Whatever rate you come back to the table, this, that, another. But I don't want to make it seem like I feel like people should be grateful for this opportunity because I'm grateful that they shared the stage with me. I'm grateful that anybody, whether it's the camera person, I'm grateful for your talent because without you, this can't happen. Howsoever, I know how hard and difficult it is. And I feel like if that was able to be explained, then a lot of the problems would have went away. But I can't explain it because I never wanted you to worry about it.
So just curious, like you just said one was like he's making $500,000, but like what are the complaints? Like what is the problem? Like what's the discord that everybody's presenting? Like I don't know. I'm really asking from a curious standpoint.
Well, I can speak transparently about this one. So right now we have we have a cast member that wasn't going to be brought back. There was a possibility we could have had a meeting, but most likely they wasn't going to be brought back, and it was mostly chiefly because of budget. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I didn't have it. It's just when you think about the factors and this, that, and other, it's just I was going to move in a different direction.
Yeah.
That person has been fairly well compensated, never underpaid, and has been a long time contractor as far as the talent with me for about 4.5 years. But I don't believe that person is handling that well. And I do believe it is, well, if I'm not going to be here, let me knock some tables over along the way.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is an isolated incident. That's an isolated
So
thing.
there's really one person that's mad right now.
Oh, yeah, but hyper mad. Really, really mad.
Yeah, misguided anger, feels like.
Well, you know what? Let me not give my opinion. I don't know whether it's mad, sad, or whatever. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But
what I can say is, because the people gonna know when they're watching it. You know, this is my first time in my life I've had to sue somebody. It's at a level because it's not just me. We talking about the 50 contractors that I'm talking about. This is influencing damaging the reputation of tonight's conversation. It's damaging the reputation of me. Directly correlates to ticket sales. And now some people may not be able to feed their family.
Livelihoods.
Yeah, livelihoods are affected. So it's not just a fight for me. It's a fight for truth. And then the goal was to try to get the disparagement to stop, the defamation to stop.
Yeah.
There's a gag order in place, and it's been in place for 2 weeks that this person is continuing to ignore.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know about how they view business.
Exactly.
It's like if you don't want to honor a gag order, you don't give a fuck about nothing, which means you don't give a fuck about what we building over here either. That's why it's almost like you said, I don't even care about the house anymore. Let me just knock it all down.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, did you ever, were there exclusive deals with them? Like, could they not, like, so somebody's
No.
big on your show,
No.
they could have did their own podcast.
Outside of the 40 days that we did tours, they could do anything that they wanted to do.
They just weren't motivated.
They did. No, they tried. So they could do their own podcasts. They can do their own shows. They can have their own products. I am an artist-friendly person because I started as a poet.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I don't even have these people in long-term, or my artists in long-term contracts. We do tour by tour. Now, at some point, anybody could have came up to me and said, hey, listen, I'd rather trade the ability to negotiate after every tour for 2 years of security. Somebody could have did that. They could have been like, hey, listen, just make sure I'm on 80% of the shows at this rate. It's favor for you.
And we good.
And then we good. Nobody did that.
Yeah.
But then I always, after every 6 months or every tour we got done, they had the ability to renegotiate or go somewhere else. And so when we talk about some of the other talent that may have decided to go somewhere else professionally, like it was professional the way they did it, that's because that's the nature of it. I don't want to keep you here. I don't put you in 360s. I don't do what you give me. Even though if you start your own podcast, could that potentially dilute my ability to market you to mine? Yes, but no, go ahead, do your thing. And so that's how we've always operated.
Somebody thought to themselves, I'm going to do a show. I want you to put it on tonight's conversation app. We could do a split. You promote it. You own it. What's good, y'all? This is Ray Daniels, a.k.a. the Culture Referee. And I'm here to talk to you about YKTV Magazine, which is the #1 magazine for prison entertainment. These prisoners are sitting in jail. They have nothing to do but read these magazines and read your ads, buy your music, support your business, anything that you can do that's online commerce. They already have published over 140 magazines with 36 major artists that have covered it. And I'm giving you an opportunity to advertise this magazine and get directly to an audience that you know has the time and the money to spend. Info at the bottom, info at the GAUDs Show. Holla at us, whether you're an artist, producer, whoever you are. We can help you with your business. Holla at us to get to YKTV. With me.
So, no.
That's different.
No, we've had, so like Keita Rose, she started her own podcast called Unmedicated and Educated with Keita Rose.
Okay.
She self-funded it, self-did it, self-this, and she put it on her YouTube. Kitty J. Rose started her own podcast called Talk to Me Kitty. She did it herself, put it on her own her Patreon. We had Trip Fontaine. He started his own called Trip After Dark. He self-produced it, self-did it, put it on his own Patreon. Very rarely have people come to me and say, let's partner on this. I understand it though, right? Because some people want a sense of their own. And I didn't have a problem with that. You get what I'm saying? I ain't have a problem with that.
But if they thinking like that, they don't understand business. They still own the IP. They just basically license it to you and then they can take, like literally Rory and Mal, to me, are like every other podcast, is just they came from Joe. So it's like, let's go follow them. Like, you know what I mean? It's no, you feel me?
I know.
Because as a businessman, I'm like, okay, this guy's making money. He has a plan. How can I build my business within this?
So let me.
Well, you might start getting some calls after this podcast.
Let me, since
you know that, right?
Since you brought this up, I know we don't want to get into the weeds of it, but I want to just say this part. This is because it's important in context while we're on here. Few seconds. There was an accusation of financial abuse by Keita Rose.
Okay.
That's unequivocally false. She was paid. She said it on the podcast. She did Tasha K. She told her rate that she got paid per show, which was $14.5. $14,500 per show. Do the math on that through the year.
What?
$14,500 per show.
Is she still mad?
But anyway, so it shifts to Ebony. My publicists don't like when I say it. She said it perfectly first, and I just want everybody to know that she was paid that per show. It was a probably 200 to 300 increase from the spring. And she was paid on time every single time. Whenever she needed an advance for a show or for travel or whatever what she needed to do for her assistant, because her assistant's travel, she had herself a +1. We allowed it her and a +1 to cover their travel. And then anything after that, you have to cover yours. That was in the spring. In the fall, we just gave them an all-in rate, and you can do whatever you wanted to do. But she was given 2 advances, one in January that she played back in April. Now, you understand when I give an advance, that's money I got to give, my money I got to give to somebody earlier than they earned it. And then also she got an advance in August earlier than it was allotted because I messed with. So she was paid on time. If you can look at the lawsuit, it'll tell you how much she made that year. But the allegations of financial abuse, she was saying on Tasha K, that it is because I promised to invest in her podcast, and when it was time for me to reimburse her for the money she put up, I said no. And the reason I want to say this on this podcast, because we're talking exactly about this. She did not mention anything about any plans to do a podcast. I found out about her podcast when she posted about her podcast and it being very well produced on, you can go to Instagram, everybody can look it up. If you go to her Instagram, Unmedicated Convos, the first time I was aware that she did a podcast is when she made the public post about announcing her podcast. So it had already been done. It was like December 9th, 2023. We had no discussions about investment. And I'm gonna tell you this, not to brag, not to say anything. I have, and I said it before in this interview, so this is not me making it up. I have never, ever, ever had people put up any money in things I invested in, ever. I would have never had her put up any money for something that was supposed to go on my app. And she would have been paid, if I was to do something like that, just hypothetically thinking, she would have been paid as the host and organizer of it. And I would have paid for it to be produced, and then I would have got the money on the back end.
Yeah.
That's how that would have been structured.
Yeah.
And I want to say this last thing to this accusation. I think she was saying something that it was $30,000, $40,000. I don't need you to put up $30,000, $40,000 for me to pay you back after you get done. I don't need you to do that. So I just want to go on that point because we were here, and I know you said you didn't want to get in a mess, but I wanted to verbally just deny that accusation of finding. So when we're talking about the podcast thing, most times what happens, especially in this situation, is people assume that it's easier than it is. And instead of starting small, because all you needed to do your own podcast, get a couple lights, a couple cameras, a mic, keep it small.
You could have got your phone, if you be honest with you.
Keep it small.
Keep it
small. But, you took your own risk, and I applaud that. I applaud it. But I just wonder now why that didn't give you a better perspective on the risk I'm taking every single time we go on the road.
Because she took her bet. It goes back to what I said. The world favors the bold, the one that's willing to bet. And she bet, and it didn't work out. So then it can't be my fault it didn't work out. It got to be someone else's. So you start looking for blame. That's what I see most people doing. It's like, shit don't go right. It's like, who fault is it? It's like, dog, it's always your fault because it's you. And that's why I respect what you're saying about controlling everything, because it's like, this is me. If this doesn't work, everybody leaves paid, everybody leaves happy, and I'm fucked.
Oh, let me say this one thing. I did Atlanta in the spring. Atlanta at the Georgia War Congress Center. I probably went up like 40. I went up like 40. Did Montgomery the next day, went down 70. I don't cut my staff for shows that don't sell well. Everybody stay on. All 8 of them. Every video person, every person that scanned tickets, every usher. I did Chicago, went up probably like 80, maybe 90. But Milwaukee the day before, I went down 60.
When you talking about the ticket prices when you say it went down?
No. The door. I was down 60,000.
Oh, you lost 60. Oh, okay, cool. Never mind. Okay, now I got it. Perfect.
My point is, like, if you go to 2024, nobody was ever cut from shows due to ticket sales. I swallowed it. I swallowed it. Anytime you go into a room and there's not over 2,500 people, you best believe I'm taking a loss.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not sitting here saying that that's a shared experience that should be with the people I'm paying. But it's like undeniably hurtful in this moment.
Yeah.
When the accusations of financial abuse is happening to somebody that made over $400,000 last year. Sorry, Ebony. Publics don't like to say that.
But this is coming from someone that prides himself on integrity, right? This is your thing,
integrity.
Right?
It's integrity. So if you made $411,000 last year for 40 days of half work, when I know I dropped down 70 in Milwaukee, you get what I'm saying?
The disrespect.
And then, so now when I'm talking about the integrity of tonight's conversation, when I'm everybody in the industry know I pay people. Everybody know I'm probably most people's first paying podcast.
Yeah.
You in the podcast game, most times people pay you to be on your podcast.
Yes.
That's especially in Atlanta, that's how it work down here.
Yep.
You paying this person to get on their podcast. I'm paying you. And not only am I paying you, I'm flying you out and I'm putting you in a hotel. Not only am I taking people on tour, you get your own merch. Every time I get 7 people in a room with merch table, guess what happened to my merch? It dilutes.
Yep.
I could easily say nobody got merch but me.
Yep.
It's the integrity part.
Yeah.
And the thing is about reputation, I'm not sitting here acting like a victim. I do think I'm a victim in this situation though. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like a victim, man. It's but it's hurtful because that's how fast like your reputation, and it's not your reputation, right? It's other people, you know. But that's how fast it can go. You can get one person with a loud enough microphone to make people feel like you're not handling your business.
Or it's, to be honest with you, it's the game.
Mm-hmm.
You can get 300 comments, 299 positive. That one person says, bitch ass motherfucker. That's the motherfucker you want to address, right? It's people like to focus in, hyper focusing on negativity because you can't be that excellent. You can't be that good. You
And
can't
because
be
it's
that
easy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they want to focus on reputation. So to me, like I said, that's why I didn't want to get into it. And I know Will didn't watch it either because it's like, I don't want to be the person that says, ooh, and let me tell you, it's like, dog, you listen, you're saying this on record. One thing I say to anybody is I'm online talking every fucking day.
Yeah.
If I was a snake, if I was any of those things, something would have came out, even if it snuck and came out through a back door of like, let me tell you who this dude really is. That's why, because my reputation is all I have. And it's literally all my family has. And when you're trying to take it down because you have a lack of understanding, that's the frustrating part.
Can I clarify one more thing?
Please.
'Cause I don't want the internet thinking that you're just gonna walk into tonight's conversation and your rate gonna be 14.5.
Yeah, but she probably grew with you though.
No, she was there. Remember how I talked about the first thing before we even had a podcast? She was there when we had tonight's conversation. It was just the card games. She was there, and this is the balance of this part. She was there when it was.
She earned her stripes.
A revenue split, and sometimes we didn't make that much, and I just gave her a couple dollars. The first time we toured, she might have. I mean, it's in a lawsuit, so it ain't like I'm saying. She probably got $1,500 a show, then it went to $3,500, then it went to $4,500, then it went to $6,500. So it was a progression, and that's the one thing that I want people to understand about tonight's conversation. You do your thing on the stage, you become a fan favorite. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got you.
Yeah.
And then my hope going forward is when you get to that point where, all right, I on the tour, when I gotta pay for all the other stuff, maybe that rate we now priced out. Now we can get to yo thing on the app, your solo tour. Because here's the thing, I already proved I know how to market you.
Yeah.
I already proved that your fans are here. So we can keep it in. And that's the part that I got to learn to grow. I got to make sure that people understand that this part is, the panel part is the springboard to your solo doing. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a group. It's like.
It's a springboard. And I got to do that's the part I want to do a better job at. You feel me? Is and that's why I said maybe I got to take a little step back from in front of the camera so that I can make sure I keep these relations and I can be like, yo, let's start working on this sooner. You know what I mean? Because the last thing I want to do as a talent scout and manager is to lose talent.
Yeah.
No matter for what the reason. You know what I'm saying? It ain't even got to be nothing like malicious. It's like, hold on, you worked in the music industry. This thing, I don't know how execs be feeling or labels be feeling, but it's like, hold on.
You got some fucking nerve.
You know how much money I done put into this shit? And not to you, but yeah, around you and growing you, and it's like, so I want to do a better job there with just that. But I'm telling you, this is my first rodeo with the type of things that you guys have been seeing on the internet. I've never had to deal with that before, and so I'm like learning to take the punches with it. But the business side of it, I also have to take some accountability in saying, there has to be a better. Not even explanation. It has to be, I have to do a really great job in finding really quality fits in this situation. And then laying the expectation that, hey, put in the work, this could happen, but understanding that if you want to pivot somewhere else, or if we want to pivot somewhere else, just understand that this is a business also. You know what I mean? When you start podcasting with people, it does feel, you do feel close. You're talking all the time with each other. But ultimately,
somebody paid for these lights, these mics,
yeah,
these cameras,
it's a business.
Somebody paid for it. And you got to respect that. It's just crazy.
Well, I think that, you know, I probably speak for Ray as well. It's like you just said, this is your first time really having to deal with things like this. I think I speak for Ray. Thank you for coming.
We talk
on
about
here
this all the time.
But thank you for coming on and being vulnerable and being able to talk about these things, because it's not easy, right?
It's not.
And I actually wanted to rewind. I wanted to find some other things, some other pockets to talk about. You said right at the beginning, it was funny because I was listening the whole time. You were talking about when you first started this. And you were talking about when you first started filming yourself and talking about some of these things was when you were in your promiscuous phase. And was there a particular moment or a particular incident that made you go, oh shit, I really need to straighten my shit up? Because these are the conversations we need to be having.
Yes.
So if I'm going to be frank with you, this whole thing, it's been a learning process, right? Because a lot of it I had to speak in existence. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it I had to sit there, and that was the idea of the man I wanted to become.
Yeah.
And then when I started linking myself with like-minded people and educated people and people with higher conversations, it started to shape and morph the way I view things. For example, when we talk about, I don't want to get too deep in here, but when we talk about sexual trauma inside the Black community, especially amongst boys, a lot of people don't talk about it, right? And so here recently on a podcast in October, you know, I was able to, for the first time, in a vague way, talk about some of the trauma I experienced as a boy. And a lot of times we don't do that, especially when we go into Black men, because ultimately what ended up happening, somebody start weaponizing that against you and questioning your sexuality.
Yeah.
And so, but in these elevated conversations, what I started to do was I started to piece together like, hold on, maybe that's connected to the way I practice sex now. The way maybe I sleep around and maybe don't, you know, value myself the way it should be. And I think as Black men, we don't talk about that a lot.
At all.
And so a lot of us are carrying around trauma from our childhood that we're ashamed to tell people now that we're adults. But it's like that 14-year-old boy inside of you, or that 8-year-old boy is now influencing your behaviors because you haven't tended to that problem.
Yep.
And so that's one example of just being able to be in front of not just the camera, but being around people that, you know, elevate, and it's a safe space and you able to grow in a healthy way.
And perhaps have shared experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it took me a while because, for example, my man, Trip Fontaine, we would sit on that couch a lot and he would say that. He would talk about how oftentimes the sexual trauma that we experience as Black boys or the trauma of abuse, maybe it's physical abuse from a parent. We grow up and we practice on other people. And I heard him say on that couch so many times that before I had the courage to confront mine.
Yourself, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this whole process has been learning. It's been a learning process and a growing process.
Yeah. I just got to ask you because I just got to ask you, did you ever have a personal relationship with Keita? Because that can also be a reason why it's diluted.
I have never, personal meaning
like dealt with each other.
Personal. Okay, let me be very clear. I have never had a sexual, romantic, or even, I would even argue, a friendship outside of work. We don't text each other randomly just about anything that doesn't have to do anything with work. We don't get on the phone randomly about anything that doesn't have to do with work. I mean, that's just period. So, but I'm not going to downplay and act like being on the road with a person, you don't get to know them and y'all laugh.
Get closer,
something.
exactly.
Yeah, but not an intimate relationship where secrets are told, things are divulged, or where she would have any confidential information about me.
Because I was going to say, once a woman see you naked, she feel like she knows you better than anybody else. She's like, let me tell you who this motherfucker really is. So it's like, yo.
What's interesting, and what's interesting is I've never had a sexual or romantic relationship with anybody that has been featured on my podcast. That has been something that, from an integrity standpoint, I have been sure to not.
That was a boundary.
It's a boundary.
I was about to say, you gotta be careful because that's the type of shit somebody will say. That's why he didn't pick me. And now they fucking with you in your business. He didn't pick me because of it's that's why when we speaking about other things in my office, I always look at it from. We don't have enough bosses around us to teach us how the world works, right? So, you think when we always hear about taxes, right? But we never hear about overhead. We never hear about business costs. In my business, everybody tell me I should own the master. I'm like, do you not acknowledge the studio, the engineer, the building, the lights, this shit all costs. So for you to think just because your voice is there that you deserve it all, you already don't understand the concept of business. So for me, when I'm hearing you, I'm like, it just feels like my business where it's like, man, that was my song. I should own it. You didn't pay for shit.
Well,
how would you own it?
Can I say this though? Like, and this is not shooting nobody no bail, right? Hypothetically speaking, this is not about anybody in particular. If you're used to a certain level of income, and then that income isn't present, a lot of people can handle that a lot of different ways. I would hope that it would be in a respectful, cordial, professional way. I would hope it would be in a way in respects to your own future, and that you don't crash out and jeopardize your ability to make money going forward because people are seeing this. But that can be a tough thing. And just unfortunately in this particular situation, the way it's being handled now isn't the way I would choose to handle it.
Yeah. So you said a lawsuit. The lawsuit is you or the lawsuit is against you?
No, I filed a defamation suit against Keita Rose. It's defamation, it's breach of contract. We have a non-disparagement agreement she breached. It's a few other things in there, but again, I never in my life thought that I would have to do that, but I didn't want to go on the internet going back and forth with somebody that, prior to this starting, I had a supreme level of respect for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And personally, I was, had an affinity towards her, like in a workspace, an appropriate, right? And so I didn't want to go back and forth. But as things started to arise, and then you look at the intent behind it. The intent was war. She said it. This is war. It's literally, she said it on her Insta story. This is war. You want to go viral? Let's go viral. We'll be the talk of the town. When you look at the intent, there was a fish for dirt. She went in, hey, anybody in Dayton, Ohio, hit me up to try to fish for dirt. When you look at the intent behind it, and then the viciousness of the mistruths and gross exaggerations, and then the claims of financial abuse, which is torturous to business.
Yeah.
It's torturous.
Yeah.
There are guests that we had that probably at this point don't want to be involved given the poison that this atmosphere has had. So it got to that point where it's like, even though I didn't want to ever go that route, this is the appropriate manner to handle this particular issue. I never wanted to be personal. This is not personal to me. This is business.
Yeah.
And I hate that it seems to be personal for her, because there's personal attacks for a business dispute that honestly, if it doesn't really even exist.
Yeah.
But now we're so that's why we did file that lawsuit. We went to the judge in the ex parte meeting because, again, it's been 35 days. She's still doing interviews about it. And the judge, because of the overwhelming amount of evidence we presented, said because there's a likelihood that we will win defamation, he issued the temporary gag order. And our date for the permanent injunction is March 3rd. But currently, she's out of the country, even though she knows she has a court date.
Can we get a little lighter?
Go ahead.
Let's get a little lighter.
Go to the stuff. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I feel like this big weight.
Because when he said lawsuit, I just want to clear, was it versus him or against him? That's why I was asking. Let's go.
No, one more thing. I know we're going to get lighter. And I'm not saying this, like, I want y'all to understand, everything I'm saying you can look up on the lawsuit. You can also find one of the videos where she posts the lawsuit behind her and she points at it. Guess I'm being sued. So she's aware.
Yeah.
But she's out the country right now.
Okay. Am I right in saying that, do you have a doctorate?
No, I don't have a doctorate. So for me, and I'm glad you asked that, I'm more the common sense, entertaining, fun guy, but I surround myself with professionals. So the panel we have a psychologist on the panel, we got a few life coaches, et cetera, et cetera. But for myself, it's always just been common sense advice from that guy that used to be that guy.
Yes.
So it's
organic knowledge.
Yeah, it's like, man, this is who I used to be. I know the game.
Yep.
Avoid this. But as we started to grow, my perspective was limited to what I could touch. So I brought people around us to be able to handle the more in-depth conversations.
I heard Taco Tuesday has a really big, significant role in your life.
Who knows about Taco Tuesday?
Listen, bro, we got research. I'm looking. I'm like,
This is
what
like
happened with
Nardwuar
Taco
up in
Tuesday?
here.
Yeah,
We're
I want to
getting
get
deep.
better.
Nah, Taco Tuesday does. Like, first of all, me and Taco Tuesday like this. And this Tuesday today, right?
Yes.
Oh, where are
First
the
of all-
tacos, man?
First of
I
all,
didn't know.
if you in Atlanta, I need some new Taco Tuesday dates. I ain't gonna tell y'all, but I'm not recently single. I've been single for about 9 months. But Taco Tuesday, no. So if you in Atlanta and you're not a scammer,
And you love this gentleman
you don't
right here.
drink Honor Palmer's in hookah every night.
We got an uptown.
Yeah, holla at your boy, you know what I'm saying? But nah, Taco Tuesday, let me tell you this. The best, worst day of my life happened on a Tuesday.
Okay.
Never forget it.
This is in 2013. Could you
Actually-
say something significant
No,
changed your life?
no.
Okay.
2013 was different, but I used to work as a nurse. I was a nurse for about 10 years.
Yes.
And on this particular Tuesday, for whatever reason, I had got written up at work. And you got to think, that was my livelihood at the time. It's paycheck to pay. I mean, not paycheck to paycheck, but about paycheck to paycheck. I had got written up and I got put on my final warning. And I remember thinking, like, this is terrible. This is terrible. So, but it's like, man, it's Taco Tuesday. I'm going to go ahead and have some tacos. So I end up going down, and I'm going to try to find a video in a second, but I end up going down to a cafe called Delish Cafe, which is interesting. My best friend, his name is Buddy. He works on tour with us. His family used to own it. It was like the black spot in Dayton.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Because Dayton ain't got a lot of black spots. So we go there. I remember eating my tacos, and it was a bartender. His name was Ed. He used to make the strongest margaritas. So I remember drinking, sipping, and I'm stressed out. I'm stressed out because if anybody has been a nurse or working in nursing, it's such a demanding job that it's so easy to make a mistake. And so I was one mistake away from not having a job. So I remember eating, and then for whatever reason, I'm walking back to my car after eating the tacos after work. And I'm still in my scrub so you can see it. And I pull out my phone, and I just start recording. And I say, before you let a man sweep you off your feet, be sure he's prepared to catch you when you fall. You might be too much woman for him. And it was just like, I don't even know. It was just, I started flowing with that.
Bars.
Yeah, I started flowing. And you got to think, at the time, I ain't even thinking nothing of it. Like, I used to do that all the time. It get 200 views. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, that shit was fire. 15 likes. Ooh, that shit was fire. I woke up because I had to go to work the next day. I woke up, and that video had 1.2 million views overnight. And it ultimately ended up getting up to 70 million views.
Oh, wow.
And that's what sprung me into this calling and this mission. And it reminds me of what I'm going through right now. So back in 2017 or whatever time that was, you couldn't have told me that before 7 p.m. on that day, that wasn't one of the worst days of my life. But now, 8 years later, you can't tell me that wasn't the best day.
That was God.
And now I look at this situation that I'm going through right now. Like, in it, shit sucks. But I imagine, what if 8 years from now, I'd be like, that is what turned this into that, right? And so I always try to keep a perspective when we going through things, because we oftentimes can't see outside the rat maze.
Yeah.
Like right now, it seems like I'm hitting my head and I'm hitting all these little walls, but maybe this is what I needed for the breakthrough.
Yeah.
Maybe, let me tell you this. Maybe this is what I needed to know I needed to audit my circle. And let me tell you what the fucked up, my bad for cussing.
No, curse. You good?
Let me tell you what the fucked up part about this whole thing is. It ain't just the person we was talking about. It's somebody was feeding her information. Somebody from my past, from 12 years ago, is feeding her information. Somebody from when I was Jehovah's Witnesses is feeding her information. Something to get to what she got to, as far as with these exaggerations, started from some people in my circle or around my circle or used to be in my circle. And so now it's just like, you gotta audit.
Yeah.
Like it's up right now, but maybe that's the lesson. Like I gotta audit.
Yeah,
I gotta believe people when they say stuff.
Yeah.
Cause I ain't even, man,
Well, it's the old adage, isn't it? It's that, everything happens for a reason, and it might not always be a good thing. You might be on this path that you think you're going forward, and something happens to steer you left, and it's steering you left for a reason.
Yeah.
And you just maybe haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah, and that's why.
And you have to believe it. You have to trust the process, man.
And when we were talking earlier off camera, that's where you use your will.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna make sure that 8 years from now, that this moment was the moment that catapulted me into a different level of greatness.
I love that. And to me, that's what we was talking about off camera. Like you can't sit around and say like, why me? Because we don't usually have someone we could call and say, what happened when you got sued?
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you about the guy. Let me tell you how this shit gonna work out. But we don't have that. So when you don't have that, you tend to have to figure it out on your own. Will, I'm gonna give you a couple questions because I'm gonna ask the last question, or you? Because
I have a couple.
Ebony, we don't have a lot of time, but I want to get yours out.
I have a couple. The researchers gave me some quotes of yours, and we want you to elaborate on them.
Okay.
So the first one that we had was, you said that Adam never asked God for Eve.
Where did y'all get this stuff from?
Alex is right there. Like he stuck, bro. He came in. Let me tell you something. Alex came in. This is how he started working for me. He gave me a 71-page book on my life. How the fuck do you know this much about me? Like, it's crazy. So yeah.
Nah, that's the truth though, because God just saw he was lonely. You know what I'm saying? He looked around, he saw everybody had a pair.
Yeah.
But I often think about how sometimes, even though we don't know exactly what we need, it's provided for us.
I love that you said that. That's really
And then
good.
in order for him to get that gift, he had to be put to sleep. And sometimes in our lives, especially like I said, in moments like this, like sometimes you got to be put to sleep. You got to rest. You got to be still in order for that gift to be,
You got to let go, because you might be holding on to something that's holding you back. So sometimes you just got to relax and just trust that God got you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then, like, sticking on a religious tip, Jeremiah 17:9 says the heart is deceitful. Apparently, this is something else that you.
Where are they getting this stuff from?
You gotta stop asking that at this point, bro.
I had it's interesting because now that has a different meaning to me now, and I ain't gonna talk about it right now. I do. So like, I was not, so I used that phrase or that for when we talk about dating and how people say follow your heart. And oftentimes that's where I feel like a lot of us mess up when it comes to dating, is because although your heart should be the engine, you got to steer it. And oftentimes when we're dating, we are leaving our logic and our mind and our discernment out of this, and our intuition. And those are the things that we should be steering with. And yeah, your heart is the reason why the car goes. But if you let your heart drive the car, you're going to be off a cliff somewhere. Yes. And that's why I believe that we don't know our hearts. Our hearts need monitoring.
I always tell women when I met them and I started dating with them, I swear, I say, you need to love me with your brain. Do not love me with your heart, because I'm going to break it. Love me with your brain, because then you'll understand me more. So now you can protect your heart, right? So I just love that you said that. Don't love me with your heart, baby. I'm gonna break that.
I mean, I gotta be honest. I'll drive off the cliff a few times, bro. It's fun sometimes.
Hold on, what's your sign?
I'm an Aquarius.
There it is.
It's fun sometimes, man. Driving off the cliff into the water.
No. Hey, listen.
But but in Aquarius world, you guys are so smart that you like. It's almost like the adventure of it all.
I love the journey.
See, I can only. Hey, listen. I love a little toxicity in my life too, but just a pinch. I can't do more than a pinch.
I got you.
It's the word toxicity, masculine toxicity. To me, anytime a man is masculine, it's a toxic thing to me.
You feel that way?
I think the word toxic masculinity killed R&B music.
You think so?
Yeah, I have a take that I said on my show where I was like, men can't be vulnerable anymore. It's like, I'll give you an example. The line, if you think you're lonely now, wait until tonight, girl. As much as that was a warning, that's gaslighting right now. Like, you're gaslighting me. That is gaslighting, right? When Keith Sweat says, you may be young, but you're ready, it's like, hold on, how young is she, bro? Like, it's like all these things come in place now where it's almost like, it's funny because he said something and I just was so thankful. I swear, I'm gonna bring it up. He said, I swallowed it. And I remember thinking, if there was a Jack dance, pause, it's like, dog, we men.
Oh yeah, where's Cam at?
That's what I'm saying, we're men though. So it's like, why do we have, every time a man is like, say, oh, Paul, it's like, as a man, you gotta dance with how you talk, with how you communicate, with how you do shit, because if you do, they're gonna use it against you in public opinion.
Is it that, or is it, see, you know what kind of conversation we gonna start having. 'Cause we was having it over there.
Everything's looking like, don't go, we gotta do another thing, I got you.
Because I know she gotta go. But I can see that logic, right? Because there is sometimes an overcorrection, right? There is an overcorrection. Like now, you know, and it sometimes if you don't like a woman, you're narcissist, you're homosexual, you're this, you're that, right? And you just don't like her. Or, you know, and so you don't like her. I just don't like you. I'm not a narcissist. I just don't like you. I don't really
it has to be a reason.
But,
yeah, like I have a preference.
But
we're not allowed to have preferences either.
But barring those things, right? I think that there's a shift, whether we like it or not, there's a shift of what masculinity looks like in 2025 than what it looks like in 1985. But there's a shift in what femininity looks like now. And ultimately, I think it's up to the individual to define what it is to themselves.
Exactly.
However, if you want to be accepted in society in a certain way, sometimes you got to see how your masculinity or your femininity fits into not making certain people uncomfortable or being insensitive about certain things. Now, you can choose not to, but then there's probably social consequences to it. Like, for example, I'm gonna give you, again, I don't know how deep we're gonna get into this, but I'll give you like,
according to Ebony, not very deep, bro.
Okay, no, okay. I'll give you, so like, I've never been a type, I've always been conscious of this because I think it became a awareness thing when I grew up into being a sexually active adult. Like, let's say I became sexually active, 2007, 2008. Around that time, there was an awareness about making sure that this woman is not drunk enough to give you consent, right? So because of the learning that had happened prior to that, now that became something that people that came into age at 2007 and 2008, that's something that's always been in my consciousness. Now, nobody has to say nothing, but maybe people that came in an age in 1990 or 1980, you might have not have been thinking that same way. So it is a graduation, I believe, for the better in certain situations because, like I said, now, like I just, I had to defer to the morning time the other day because I'm like, all right, we a little saucy. Let's just sleep this off, hit it in the morning. And now you make those choices now, right? You make those choices because now you're thinking about, okay, I don't ever want to be in a situation like that. So I think that there is some
You're being more
growth.
intentional.
Yeah.
You have to be to protect yourself.
And that's what I'm saying. And so, but, that's why I think some changes are for the better, I believe.
All right. I got two questions. Last one. I just got to ask you this. This is a quick blurb. Tell me your feelings on Kevin Samuels. And then I want you to tell me the difference between what Kevin Samuels does and what you do.
I actually used to watch Kevin Samuels all the
loved
time. Now listen. He was a little bit abrasive. Like, he didn't have to tell old girl she was built like Emmitt Smith that she can hit the A gap like a motherfucker. Now, you know what I mean? That's not what I'm trying to do.
But there's only one thing he did that you gotta appreciate. No matter what he told you to do, he always referred to you as ma'am.
Yeah.
He never called you out your name. Ma'am, you need to run your big back through that. Like, it was just so
He was
raw.
being disrespectful.
Respectful, yeah.
But I let me tell you this. In practice, I feel like a lot of what he was saying is practical. And he was just the first person to unapologetically do it in the way. And here's the thing. Sometimes you got to, your style is your style. These are willing people, participants that came on his show knowing what it is. And I feel the same way about tonight's conversation. People will come to the mic and they be like, why did y'all exploit them? No, they came to the mic and they know what we do.
Yeah.
You come to the mic asking that particular question, what you think Kitty gonna do?
Yeah.
She gonna eat you up. You know what I'm saying?
So if someone says, I'm 5, well, they don't have to say it. You can see them. Well, if a woman is 5'3", 250 pounds, 4 kids, 4 different baby fathers, and she up there saying, why don't I have a man? What is the problem? What would be your response? Because Kevin Samuels say, man, don't look at yourself.
Hold on. You know what? You know what's interesting? What's interesting? In New York a couple years ago, a woman came to the mic. She had 7 kids.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
It might have been by the same father. I don't remember, but she was a relatively attractive woman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody on the panel was struggling to say something nice. They like, oh, it's gonna be hard. You better, girl, get back with the baby daddy. Blah 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 blah. It was all that. Why did you leave the baby daddy? And they was doing that. And so this is true. This is what I did in real life. So I always try to find a little sliver of hope. Okay, in this room, I got plus
something
I'm
positive.
I'm the moderator. Everybody was too negative. So I was like, I was serious as fuck too. I said, there are people right now that would say me being on this stage was impossible. Let me finish. When I was growing up, I was the kid that was gonna end up dead or in jail. And now I'm on this stage in front of 3,000 people doing what I love for a living. You can do anything you put your mind to. There is always a place for you.
Yeah.
Despite what people say. Just believe in yourself, yada, yada, yada. So I would give that advice because here's the thing. There's always somebody for somebody. Have you ever been walking down the street and you see this couple? They both busted, but they happy.
Yeah.
They busted, but they happy because it's always somebody for somebody.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's always somebody for somebody. But see, the one problem I've always had about just like they call it the red pill community is that it's not solely based off of that. Like, yes, if you got in the best shape of your life, would that increase your options? Yes. But but skinny people getting played left and right too. Rich, I have more money than most, but that don't mean in this moment I'm happy.
Yeah.
Look at what the fuck I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in a new city. I thought I was going to live my best life. I'm like, man, I'm about to be in Atlanta, clean it up. And then here come all this little controversy. The last 2 weeks, I've been in the war chest, like war room, with my laptop. Girls that I thought liked me ain't text me back.
Yeah.
I said, stay that way when I back up. I said, don't come back when I back up. I said, But all those things don't make you happy. So I would say to that person and anybody is just find that you gotta adjust your expectations.
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying. He wasn't never saying you ain't gonna find nobody, but you gotta be reasonable.
He's saying calm the fuck down and let's look at all our options based on what you just told me.
Let's be reasonable here. Let's be reasonable.
So this is the last question. This show is called the GAUDs Show, and GAUDs is an acronym for goats and underdogs. So we ask people like yourself to tell us, do you feel like you're a goat or do you feel like you're an underdog? If you feel like you're an underdog, what do you personally want to accomplish for you to say, I'm a GOAT.
I'm a GOAT.
Goddamn right. Let's go. Let's cover that.
Man.
Hey, dog, you was a registered nurse. And now you have a multi-million-dollar business that is thriving. If you telling me it's not possible, you got to see these interviews. And this is kind of what I was talking about in the office, where it's like, you can be the exception to the rule, but you have to first believe you are to actually go against the rules. And you did it. So I'm glad I didn't have to remind you that you're a GOAT. I really enjoyed talking to you, and we talked off camera that I feel like it's such an important conversation that one day we're gonna have to figure out how to do that. But I just want to tell you, thank you for being on the GAUDs Show.
Appreciate it.
We celebrate you, and whatever you're going through right now is what God wanted to. So stay in it and learn from it, rather than running from it and feeling like, why me? Like, you know, we all in our, we all figuring out our season we in, and it just might be winter for you to go into fall, and everything must die to go into the next season. So. By the way, thank you, man. Can we clap for Will? I want y'all to know something. Will found out he was gonna be sitting on the couch with me 15 minutes before he got on the couch. He was waiting to talk to me about something, and I was like, "Damn, I don't know if we're gonna get the meeting in because I'm gonna do this. Can you do the show?" Me, he was like, "Bro, I don't." I said, "Just sit down, man. You're great at what you do. You did good, Will. I just want to give you that."
Thank you.
And this is the GAUDs Show. Like, share, subscribe. Shout out to everybody who watches it. We appreciate you, and I'm glad that we got a chance to see the other side of the story. Because there's always two sides. There's always three, and usually the one that has the most logic and the less screaming is the one that.
That part.
Because if you ain't screaming, you understand what's going on. You only screaming because you don't have a clue and you're mad as fuck. Why can't I? So, and shout out to that young lady. I hope she wins. She's not an enemy of the show or anything, but, it's just business, and we had to have an elevated business conversation and not a conversation that you would have with Tasha K, where it's like, tell me who did what with who.
Yeah.
That's not the method of this. We want to
I agree.
we talk up to our audience. We don't talk down to them.
I agree.
So
We're about celebrating.
Thank you. GAUDs Show, we out. Let's go.